All right.
What do you call cow poop?
As we say in Colorado, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
There's studies that have found traces up to 1,000 cows in 1 pound of ground beef.
And with you, 1 cow, 1 pound of ground beef.
Livestock are the only practical tool we have available to reverse desertification across the world.
It's time to meet the new pioneers transforming farming and food. These extraordinary women and men are revitalizing the soil, restoring the environment, and protecting wildlife, essential elements of Mother Nature. Prepare to be surprised as we discover one of the most crucial movements dedicated to making our world a better place. It's time to meet our farm heroes. My name is Laura Zaspel. I represent today Farm Hero. Our purpose is to go from conventional, traditional agriculture to regenerative agriculture, holistic management as fast as possible. You know, with this show, I really want to give people things they can apply, not just little taglines that are important, but why? Look at nature. Nature always has the answer. So for me, regenerative agriculture, how did nature do it? Parker Pastures is here. And beef has been villainized. And I want to show a different side. You know, it came all together with a father and a daughter and holistic management and livestock. I really wanted to start with livestock. So we're here today in snowy Gunnison, Colorado with the Parker family. I'm really learning along with everybody else about regenerative agriculture, about holistic management. So can you tell me, holistic management, what does that mean to you as a rancher?
Really what holistic management is a decision-making framework, and it's trying to think holistically, like what is best for economics, finances, what's best for the people, and what's best for the landscape, and sort of creating a context of what you're trying to create and the future you want to create. And then using this framework, the holistic management framework, to make sure that each of your decisions are taking you towards that future goal. Yeah, the framework of holistic management is trying to help us think through those things so that we eliminate bad unintended consequences. There is proof that amount of bare ground is increasing. Our plants diversity is decreasing. Like, that's desertification. Like, it's just kind of a slow, steady decline of ecosystem health. Livestock are the only practical tool we have available to reverse desertification across the world. Cows are like the most villainized, you know, like we should all be vegetarians to save the environment. You know, cattle are villainized. And to a certain extent, that's right, because, you know, when they're taken out of the grasslands and put into feedlots where they're fed GM corn that's heavily subsidized, heavily, you know, a lot of inputs, you know, yeah, that maybe doesn't look too good. But when you are managing them correctly on a grassland ecosystem, and that is doing more to help the environment than anything. Yeah, because inside of the cow's rumen is...
And rumen means stomach.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's a part of the stomach, one part of the stomach. And that's where, like, it's the big part where the grass goes into, and then the microorganisms are there. And that's like the key to everything. So like all the microorganisms that are in the cow's rumen are like the microorganisms that we need in our soils. All the organic matter can be cycled back in, and that's how we keep layering carbon in our soil. It's because we have a living soil, and that's what we need, is living soils. Like, cycling carbon is what grazing animals do, and like using holistic management, like we speed up that process. So we've increased the organic matter 6% just through grazing management. We haven't applied anything.
No inputs, no enhancements. Nothing. That's all nature, doing what nature does.
Yep.
And so is it true then that when we see a cow grazing on grass and tugging on the grass, some of the microbiome from the stomach actually goes into the soil?
Yeah, I mean, they get it from the saliva, and that's amazing too. Like that, when they bite the grass, helps the grass heal better than like if you were to just mow it. If we're grazing right, we're increasing the production of all the areas that they're grazing, and we have proof of that too. We've tripled production on a lot of places. So the more plants you grow, the more carbon those plants are taking out of the atmosphere. And then if those plants are, by the animals, being cycled into the soil, then we're storing that carbon in the soil for long term. And we're trying to work with nature and understand her and all the symbiotic relationships going on, that, you know, if we can get that right, then we're good.
All right, where are we?
We are at the 2-Bar T Ranch. This is a new partnership I formed last year with a couple that bought this ranch specifically for the purpose of sequestering carbon.
So the baby cow, it stays with its mom until it's how old, or just it stays with its mom? How does that work?
Yeah, well, that's a big decision. One thing, ideally, I would keep the calf with the mom for 10 months. That's kind of when, like, if they stay on the milk for 10 months, it fully develops their rumen, and then they'll do better the rest of their life. But like a lot of ranchers, you know, they'll start calving exactly March 15th and they'll wean November 1st or whatever. And
So by the book.
Yep.
Okay.
Like, I want them to do it on their own. I want to provide the best environment for them to just have their calf. They have green grass, because like as soon as that cow has the calf and she's got to start making milk, her nutrient demands go way up. Overgrazing is something we talk a lot about in holistic management, that we have an understanding of now that we didn't have before. And like even now, like we graze some public lands, and always the focus is on animal numbers. What's far more important than animal numbers is timing. Like timing is everything. We say that over and over again. So like we're always looking at recovery period. Like that's what drives my grazing plan. There's not a rotation. Like I'm looking at recovery. Like, are these plants ready to be grazed again?
It's not the cow itself, it's the policies and procedures and how one goes about raising it, and the farming and ranching principles.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's exactly right. It's not the cow, it's the how.
Yes.
And that's the same thing. It's like, it's all about the management. You know, like cows can be good for the environment, like really good, or they can be really bad. It depends on the management. We are in the Ohio Creek Valley right now. We divert water out of the Ohio Creek, and I have multiple structures throughout this property where I move the water to where I'm irrigating. We have a big concrete structure that allows me to divert the water one way or the other. It's kind of a mess, but as you can see, right now I have water flowing both that way and this way, and all I have to do is drop a board.
And that's it.
And I can push all the water that way, or I can pull all these boards and send the water down that way. So, as we say in Colorado, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
Again, we talk a lot about water rights and water issues in Colorado and in other states. But when it comes down to it, this is the water that we're talking about. These are the rights that we're talking about. So I love this to actually have real world, how do water rights work with a what? 4-inch, 5-inch tall board.
This is a very ancient way of irrigating, and it still works and it's still efficient.
Farm Hero is here as a service for you, for groups, agriculture groups, to have a voice to consumers, right? So consumers can relate to what's happening on a farm, on a ranch, and hearing from you and getting the definitions from you means so much. What do you call cow poop? We were talking about the fat, like we can see them and hear them chewing on the grass. That's the best sound ever. So as they eat the energy, and that extra energy goes into the fat, right, to be stored. So the flavor, the nutrient density is in the fat itself. Is that correct?
Yep. And a lot of the health benefits, and the fat of the cow is very similar to the fat of our brain. And so I noticed when my children were young, they would like just devour the fat off the steaks before the meat. And so much of, like, whether it's the microbiology in their stomachs, it's kind of like our microbiology, and their fat makeup is like our fat makeup. Like, I do believe God, created us together to be symbiotic, and that's how I feel. Like, my cows are my best friends, my livelihood, my partners, and I need them and they need me, and so that's a rewarding day-to-day life.
Hi. Hi, MJ and Blaine. Thank you for having us. Tell us, where are we?
Yeah, we are in the middle of the Van Tile Ranch. It's actually a ranch owned by the city of Gunnison. What pigs do great is root around. So they use their snouts, they root around, so they love to eat that like thick grass that cows will often leave behind. So they're just a really great tool to work in tandem. Pigs are more similar to humans. They can't just eat grass, they need to have a more diverse diet. So that's why they're great behind cows, because they're not also trying to get that same resource cows are getting in the form of grass. They eat a little bit, they eat a lot more of the dead old stuff. And then we don't have toxic waste pools because they're not staying in one place. We don't have that concentration of nutrients. So they are spreading their nutrients around a pasture, and then we move them, and then that gets to cycle through. And because we're moving them, because we're not concentrating them in one spot, we don't have that issue of too many nutrients that creates this toxic place. Pigs are great soil builders. They are spreading out nutrients, and because we're moving them so frequently, they're not just destroying a piece of land. They're happy, they're living out their pigginess, right?
So are you the CEO of this side of the company?
CEO and owner.
CEO and owner.
Yeah, I work with my dad on the production side. He takes care of the cattle, and then when they go to butcher, then it's kind of my responsibility from there on out of selling the meat, making sure it gets fulfilled, marketing it, all the back-end logistics of getting it onto people's tables. When I was like 10, 11, we had like a flock of sheep. From there, I kind of just built a lamb business. I got into entrepreneurship and like, okay, I have customers, and how do I communicate with my customers? How do I market? And so I had built that to a 6-figure business, and then I just kind of decided I was ready to go do some other things. How is most beef raised? And most beef, it's on a ranch for the beginning of an animal's life, but then they usually go into a feed yard where they are fed corn and usually not a very diverse diet. So that's going to create a product that has protein, but it doesn't have macro and micronutrients because of what the animals are consuming. There's a few advantages that bigger processing plants have because they have mastered how to do thousands of animals in a day, but because of that, there's studies that have found traces up to 1,000 cows in 1 pound of ground beef. So if you were to take like our operation, there's hundreds upon thousands of different plants that an animal can choose from in their lifetime. So that is like a clear way of like, okay, there is a lot of flavor and there's a lot of nutrient density just because of the diversity, nutrient dense food on our table, because most food is very lacking in nutrients.
So there is a distinction. So when you say grass-fed, grass-finished, is the last 180 days of the animal's life.
Yes. They're older, which means they've had more opportunity to select from diverse plant species throughout their life. So they've had the opportunity to graze many different plants that then give them many different nutrients.
Have you noticed that there's more people from around the world that want to come tour the ranch?
Yeah, I think, just definitely with like how people realizing how broken our food system is, and then regenerative agriculture, and just all those correlations of like, I want to see what's actually going on behind the scenes of how my food is actually being raised.
And it's funny because when we're filming, it was like, well, are we going to change the hours because it's raining and we don't want to film in the rain? It's like, what you guys go through, snow, sleet, rain, it doesn't matter. You're out there. So I'm going to be out there. You wake up in the morning. What is that day like? Just a typical day. Typical day. What does it look like?
I just think of what do my animals need, and that's always priority. And there's a lot that like irrigation or fencing or this or that needs to be done for the animal, but like number one is always the animals. Like, what do they need today? That's a good reason for getting out of bed every morning, for sure.
But it's dangerous, right? Farming is beautiful. Farming is gorgeous. Farming is nature. Farming is brutal. Farming is life and death, because it's hard work, right?
Yeah, but I also think, no, it's not. Like, work smarter, not harder. How do we attract the younger generation? It's not like, well, you're going to be working your ass off for 12 hours every day of your life, and you're going to love it. And they're going to want to come do it. I think the biggest thing is most young people don't think it's a viable way to make a living, and there's truth to that. It is hard to make a living in agriculture, but it's very possible, and it's very possible to make a good living, like white collar salary type. We have to romanticize the next generation to be a part of agriculture, and that's how we grow this new generation of ranchers and farmers. Try to show young people that this is an attractive lifestyle, and like being your own boss and being outside every day and being with the animals is like the best life you can have.
Here's a simple thing my dad did that has stuck with me. I'm years old. Has stuck with me for decades. He bought grapes, fresh grapes, right? Farmer's market, something like that. Laid out tables in our backyard, laid out the grapes, and let the sun turn it into raisins. Those raisins were the best raisins I've ever tasted. So you make that connection. Here's fresh grapes, here's the sun, here's what happens, taste the raisins. Has anybody ever tasted a raisin like that? They're amazing. So not out of a can, not dried out, fine, fantastic. Do kids know that raisins were grapes? So I just was thinking about that as what shaped my viewpoint of food. Where does it come from? How is it treated before you consume it? What are the consequences on the body?
Regenerative has definitely become a buzzword, but I've grown up always seeing the land be better. Our land is being healed. We have habitat for wildlife. There's so many different birds I see in a day, and then we have like meat that tastes good. Like all ranchers and farmers that I know, they want to care for their land. The problem is our system has made it almost impossible to do that in a way that they can be profitable and successful. And so it's like, regenerative agriculture to me is like healing the land by what we're doing. It's a privilege, and I hope that more people, that mamas let their babies grow up to be cowboys and cowgirls, because it's one of the best, most fulfilling jobs there is, and we need as many as we can get.
There's such a large amount of large-scale agriculture that fills our grocery stores, but there really is no way to actually know where that's coming from. And I think small producers like us and thousands of others spend all their time doing it. It's easy enough to get to know them and actually see where it comes from and support that. I think that's kind of the future of food.
Meat isn't the environmental enemy, whether that's cows or pigs. When they're managed correctly, properly, they can actually benefit our environment more than anything, really. They're our biggest tool against, for me, climate change. That's a huge thing.
I think sometimes consumers, well, why doesn't this farmer who's doing it the traditional way, the row crops with fertilizers, just switch? They don't understand. They don't understand what it takes. So that's part of our mission too. We want to keep that door open for the guys who are doing it the conventional industrial ag, to get mentors, to see in life how it looks so they know the direction to go.
We just know our animals are so happy, they're so healthy, and so we know we're feeding ourselves, our kids, our family that great food that doesn't have any of those.
The bad stuff. Yeah. And you can be proud of it. But again, end of the day, the pride in the product is what we've seen over and over, from Virginia to California to Texas to Colorado. Thinking about what goes into the food, what goes into our animals, because we know it has consequences on your life, on my life, on my husband's life, on everybody's life here. So to us, that makes a hero. So from us to you, you are a farm hero for the Gunnison, Colorado episode.
Thank you.
Cheers!
Well, I must say that you guys are the heroes for actually putting in all of this energy and all of these people, and at the end of the day I would probably prefer to just be in the field with the cows. They never ask too many hard questions. But we need you guys, so thank you.
Thank you so much.